See, are we live? Yes, we are. Hi, guys. Donnie Rouse here, and today we are going to talk about your core why. So, everybody wants to wake up, everyone wants to feel passion, purpose, and meaning in their day. You want to feel like you're being pulled rather than you're being dragged. The solution to this is to uncover your real why, or what I call your core why. And I'll explain what exactly the core why is. So the core why is the real why that is beneath the surface. So we all know why we want to do certain things, but often that why lacks the emotional intensity to actually get you to do the thing that you say you want to do. Probably because deep down inside somewhere, there is a part of you that thinks like, well, you know what, this may never happen, or it's not going to come to fruition. No matter how hard you try, it's just, I'm going to be at the same place. So when you uncover the core why, it connects you deep into that surface, that meaningful part that's connected to your heart. And as a result of connecting to that, now all of a sudden the actions you take are going to be different. They're going to be filled with more meaning. So I'm going to run you through a process just to get you connected in the practice of seeking that deeper meaning, because when you uncover that deeper meaning, all of a sudden like the doors and the floodgates open up. So let's ask you, or let's pick a goal that you say you want. Write that goal down and next say, well, why is it that you want it? Write that reason down, and then the methodology for getting to that core why is simply just asking more questions as to why, or as to what that will give you. And I'll go over in a moment in my own story, but looking at that reason that you gave for wanting to achieve that goal, why? What will that give you? And then when you get the answer to that, ask further. Well, why? What will that give you? And then you may have to ask certain questions like, well, so that you can what? Or how will that benefit you? And you keep going deeper and deeper. And there's going to be a time where you uncover something that's going to make you're going to be like, whoa. And you're going to feel something different from the answer that you get. So I was thinking about this when I was coming up with my process for Cold Roman. When I was talking with my coach, we'd often, she said, well, why is it that you want to continue with this? And the surface reason I would always give to anyone who asks is because I'm like, well, because I know it's an opportunity. I was given this gift. People love it. And I know that it could be successful. But as you can imagine, giving that as the reason doesn't really have an emotional pull. I mean, I certainly didn't feel that emotional pull. I mean, do you? And it's like, well, all right, well, what would that give you? What would that opportunity give you? So I started to break it down. I said, well, I actually wrote it down here on a little list here. It's like, well, giving that the opportunity would mean that I was giving more of myself, right? I was given more of my best self. And then, well, what would that mean? Well, then it would mean that I was impacting others, that I was standing true to the reason for doing it in the first place. And part of it was like just wanting longevity, wanting to create something that could stand on its own. I might have reversed it there. Like the reason was putting the best part of me out there. And as I worked through these different levels of why, when I came to that level there, and why is that important? Like, why is putting the best self of me out of there? And what it pointed to the main reason I got in the coffee in the first place. It literally brought me back to when I was sitting in my grandmother's kitchen and having espresso with my father and his siblings. And the whole methodology of literally just sitting there, taking a moment to enjoy and be in the moment with the cup of coffee. And that's where it brought me. And with that said, and it's not to say, so if you've heard me talking on this, you know that the business that I have, it's been one of the major sources of growth in my life. I mean, both like, not just, growth in the business, but growth in like all the areas of my life. Because it's made me ask different types of questions in terms, how do I want to build this business now? So this way it'll give me the lifestyle that I want Said differently, I can do the things that bring me joy, and and give those other tasks to people who are good at those. But really, it was about life creation. Like, well, what kind of life do I want to create? What is the message I want to give to people? How do I want to impact people's lives? And the process of doing that again was always breaking down, asking more questions. So let's recap on this reason, the 7 layers of why. Like, why is it important for you to go at the goal? So you may say, okay, well, why is it important for you? We'll give an example of your physical health, right? Like, well, you want to have, you want to have like a great beach body. Well, why is that important? You're like, well, because I want to look good in my bathing suit. You're like, well, all right, well, why does that matter to you? You're like, well, because like I used to have that body when I was in my late 20s, and when I have that, it just made me feel good, right? So why is that important? Like, what will that give you? Well, it gave me a sense of vitality that I could accomplish anything. I loved the way I felt. I loved the way I moved. I loved the confidence it gave me. And then as you start to dig deeper, you start to uncover more reasons as to what it is. It's just like saying, when you're going after the $1 billion, it's not the $1 million that you're going after, but you're going after what it will give you. And the same is true with your why. So you really have to dig deep to uncover what that purpose is for whatever it is that you're going after. And when you uncover that, you'll notice, because there's going to be like a switch that goes off. You're going to feel like something change. And now all of a sudden, you start to take momentum. You start to take the actions where before you may have been hemming and hawing and putting them off. And again, the reason why this is important is because not a single day is to be taken for granted, because not a single day is guaranteed. So rather than get caught in distraction, wasting your time on things that aren't going to add value to your life, right? They might add value into the moment because they're a dopamine spike, but they're not going to add value to your life. And so by doing this process, this is just one, like when we're looking at, for instance, like the One Life Blueprint, where we're looking at your vision, your purpose, your beliefs, your strategy, goals, your identity, and the action to take, right? This is just one piece of that puzzle to get you to take momentum. So I hope you enjoy this podcast. I hope you play with this methodology. And I'll be honest with you, like, this methodology wasn't one that came easy to me. I had done this several times in the past. I remember going to workshops and seminars and being introduced to this philosophy. I think they call it like 7 whys. I don't think you need to necessarily go 7, but I think the reason why they would say go 7 whys deep was because the more you ask, you kind of sometimes you might get answers that don't necessarily drive you to the core. So by keep asking why, eventually you'll get to that core reason, that what I call the core why. And my process or my experience in doing this was I would do them, and sometimes I would give the why as to, so I don't have this, right? I would state what I didn't want. All right, I'm doing this so that I don't experience this. And then you really have to just switch that. Well, you're right, well, what's the reciprocal of not experiencing this? Oh, so I could experience that, right? It might be like, oh, so I don't have to worry about going out to a restaurant and worrying about the price of the meal. Like, well, what's the opposite? Oh, to feel abundant, to feel happy, to be able to spend, right? It's a different feeling. And as a result of switching it, again, like sometimes it is the reciprocal, like the negative thing that might move you forward, depending on if you are moving, you take action from the carrot or the stick, meaning like the pain or the pleasure. But what I'm trying to say is you just have to work this process and figure out a way to narrow it down. And it'll come easier with practice, but you do have to, like everything in life, you have to devote the time to actually sit down, try it out and practice it, because it doesn't come right in the beginning. You have to keep going at it. And then all of a sudden, something is going to click, because you'll start to notice just different ways your brain is thinking. And then you'll be like, oh, wow, well, like when I think this, and my mind goes here, and you'll figure out the map on how your mind works. And then when you connect to that why, it's going to be a game changer. So I hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you get, please share this with 5 people. Hit that like button. If you have any comments, questions, leave it in the comment section. Again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Remember, you only get one life. Live fully, live passionately, and most of all, live now. God bless, and I will see you again soon.